sa pre-test, sa mga videos na napakahaba, no? Na 3 hours, 2 hours, at sa mga task cards na binigay ko po. Maraming salamat for complying to our asynchronous session. And again, I'll be explaining that later, no, why I designed it that way. Okay. And of course, before I start, I'd like to introduce to you our group. No, so this is Kaagapay Teacher Support, sponsored by Kaagapay Teacher Support, together with Google Educators Group San Juan. Okay. So basically, teachers, no, kung hindi pa po kayo nagpo-follow sa amin at hindi pa po kami kilala, no, Kaagapay Teacher Support is a training, a page, no, that provides trainings for teachers for free. That's why po, sana po wala po kayong binayaran, na baka may nagpadala na ng mga GCash, wala po ako natanggap. Okay? At hindi ko po yung tatanggapin, teachers. So, sana po wala po tayong pinadala ng GCash or anything, no? Or kahit bigas, dapat wala po tayong pinabibigay ng mga ganyan, no, teachers. So, lahat po ng trainings namin, lahat po ng aming mga services are for free, no? Lahat ng resources namin sa Kaagapay Teacher Support are for free, no? So that's our commitment to provide you with training programs, okay, and services, no, that may help you maybe improve your strategies and approaches for teaching, lalo na po ngayon sa distance learning. Okay. And of course, this is also in partnership with Google Educators Group San Juan. Okay. So this is basically a group of educators, no, or Google Educators based in San Juan. So kami po yun. I'm the leader of this GEG. We'll be also about these features kasi aspect din po ito or part din to ng pagiging Google Certified Educators. So kailangan din po kilala nyo yung mga GEGs at in a way, teachers, no, I'm hoping that you here, all of you, 88 of you here, could become GEG leaders in the future. Sana po makapagtayo po kayo ng inyong mga GEG sa inyong mga lugar. Kasi po nung nag-introduction po tayo ng ating mga sarili, nakita ko po that we're all over the Philippines. No? So from Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, sa lahat po ng ating, parang well-represented po tayo. Okay? So sana po yan ang magawa natin. No? Hoping, no, that we can pursue that. Okay? Okay, so let me just quickly skip that one. Introduction lang po yan. Okay, let me just quickly introduce myself, teachers. No? So ako po si Franco Nicola P. Adun. Ako po ang founder and isa sa administrators ng Kaagapay Teacher Support together with Sir Jambi, Sir Jello, no? So kami po yung nagmamanage ng page, no, ng mga webinars natin, ng mga trainings natin. Okay? Ako po ay isang Google Certified Trainer, certified last September. At Google Certified Innovator, no, batch to 2020 po ako. And of course, Google Certified Educator. Prerequisite po yan ng pagiging isang trainer, no. And, also a full-time employee. Kaya nakarelate pa rin po ako sa hirap ng pinagdadaanan natin ngayon. So mabuhay po kayong lahat na hindi pa sumusuko at patuloy na lumalaban sa gitna ng pandemyang ito. And also a lecturer at the Ateneo de Manila University. Pasintabi po sa isang taga-Berdeng school po na nakita ko po sa screen natin. Ako po ay Atenista, no? By profession din. Natawa po siya, no? Kaibigan ko po yan, yung isa sa ating mga participant ngayon. Anyway, so teachers, no? That would be it, no? So, you can contact me in many ways. You can visit our page. You can also email me at kaagapaytc@gmail.com pag meron po kayong mga questions. Or nakapag-send na po ako sa inyo ng letter. You can simply reply to that. Okay, that's my email in Xavier. So, pwede niyo po akong kausapin, no? Marami na rin po sa inyo nag-add sa akin sa Facebook. Kung mga hindi pa po nakakapag-add, if you'd like po, no, you can actually add me for faster communication. You can send me messages via Messenger, okay? Para po, example, may mga tanong po kayo, lalo na po during your examination days, okay? I'll be pasting my profile in the link, no? Of course, mamaya ko pa po siya ma-upload, no? Kung mag-request po kayo ngayon. But if you wish for a faster communication, you can send me messages via via my Facebook profile po. Okay. I'm posting it now, teachers, sa ating message. Okay. You can copy that or click that later on. Okay. So that would be for our introduction, teachers now. Okay. So now, let's now go through to the Google Certified Educators Training. So let's just a very quick overview. No? So sana po alam natin no, kung ano yung pinapasok natin ngayon. Okay? So although, marami na rin po ako na-experience no, na marami rin sa mga participants namin for Google Certified Educators Training does not really necessarily no, intend to take the examination, but rather just simply to learn more about Google for Education tools. And okay lang po yan. Okay? Pero, dun po sa mga talagang pursuing certification, so this is a training for a certification. Okay, that's why po in the letter, teachers, while the training is free, you can actually, you'll have to pay $10 para po dun sa actual examination. Kasi hindi po kami yun. Hindi po kami yung tatanggap ng $10 nyo. Hindi ko po mahawakan yung teachers. Sana mahawakan ko, no? Pero hindi po talaga namin mahawakan yan. Sa diretso po yan sa Google. Okay, so the Google, it's Google that will initiate no or implement na examination. Okay, so sila po yung doon niyo po bibilhin yung examination, which is $10. Okay? Ngayon, pag-uusapan po natin yung lahat, teachers. So marami na rin po ako natanggap na tanong on how to register, how to pay. Lahat po yan, teachers, I will guide you step by step. Okay? So we will have an entire session. That's why expect, teachers, that our last session will be a lengthy one. Mahaba po yung last session natin kasi we'll be covering tools there. At the same time, I will be guiding you through registration process. Para po at the end of this training, kailangan po naka-register na tayo. At least, no, register, kahit hindi pa tayo bibili ng test, naka-register na po tayo ready for buying or registration for a particular test sa Google for education examinations or certifications. Okay? So ano nga ba si Google Certified Educators? No? So isa po siyang program, examination, standardized test no, ni Google in order to determine proficiency ng mga teachers sa paggamit ng Google for Education tools. No? Sa lahat po yan. Kaya dadaanan po natin lahat. I already gave you a checklist. So lahat po na ng tools na nandun ay part ng tinatawag nating Google for Education. Okay? At anong advantage no teachers no? So personally speaking, okay? Of course no, kapag naging certified ka na, you will receive a certificate from Google and also a badge which you can use for social media purposes, sa mga emails as well, etc. Okay? So basically, you can also put it in your resume, portfolio as well. So pagiging part na po yan ng inyong professional credentials. Okay? Pero ako personally speaking, no, the biggest advantage ng Google Certified Educators is that on two things. Okay? Number one, by going through this process, you're actually going to learn. Okay? Totoo lang, teachers, no? Nung mag-take ako ng exam at saka nung nag-training ako, doon sobra akong dami natutunan. Marami pala akong hindi pa nalaman tungkol kay Google for Education tools. Okay? Second, teachers, that in a way, no, and I hope that it becomes the intention after the training or after the certification, that after you have been certified, you become an authority or a positive influence in your own communities, no, to help them, to help others. Also embrace not only Google for Education tools, teachers, no, yan po yung misconception, but in general, yung use of technology for education. Kasi yun naman yung pinopromote ni Google. No? Although, syempre, promote niya yung kanyang sariling tools. Alangan naman mag-promote si Google ng Microsoft tools. No? Syempre, ipopromote niya yung tools niya. Pero in general, ang pinopromote talaga ni Google ay ang paggamit ng technology sa education. Why? Because we wanted, or Google wanted, to address that the education department addresses what they call the 21st century learning. Kasi yun po yung kailangan. Okay? For us to sustain employability, also competence in the 21st century, our students needed to be 21st century ready. At makakatulong po, no? Hopefully, dapat makatulong si Google for Education tools para ma-achieve yun. So yan po sana yung maging goal, no? Na maging influence kayo so that other educators, okay, would also be able to use technology in the classroom with ease, just like you are, or will be, okay, later on. Okay? So yan po yun. Okay? Now, ito bang training ay prerequisite? Okay? Sa Google Certified Educators Examination? Hindi po. Okay, ngayon, parang biglang hindi pala naman required eh. Alis na nga ako dito. Anyway, hindi siya po sa required teachers, no? You can actually take the test already. For example, confident na po kayo. Ay actually, pwede na po kayo mag-take. Actually, pwede na kayo mag-register ng examination. You can actually take it already. Okay? Usually, kapag bumili po kayo ng exam, the exam is delivered in 1 day. You can take it already. And then usually results are in 1 or 2 days, okay? Depending on the traffic in examination. Okay? So, hindi siya requirement. No? Okay? Pero Google would always encourage people to go training first. Okay? Kasi sometimes, kahit alam natin yung mga tools, sometimes may mga nuances at mga some aspects no, na nakakalimutan natin over time. So, a review is highly encouraged. Okay? So, yan po yung yun yung intention natin today. For me to walk you through, alam ko po madami na kayong experience, no? Karamihan po sa inyo, or marami po sa inyo, ay definitely marami ng experience no, sa Google for Education tools. Okay? Pero, we'll review most of it no, for today's session, for the next 5 sessions. Okay? So, alam na po natin kung pinapasok natin. Okay? Ngayon, when do I take my test? Meron po ba itong required time? Wala po. Okay? Kayo po ang magde-determine yan. Pero usually, teachers, the time you take your test is dictated by when you bought the exam. Okay? Kasi po, pag binili nyo yung exam, teachers, meron lang kayong 7 days to be able to use it. Okay? So, pag pinadala na sa inyo yung exam details nyo, etc., meron lang po kayong 7 days to be able to take that exam or use that exam, or else maglalapse po yun, mag-expire yung exam, sayang po ang $10. Sana po pinang-samgyup na lang natin, okay? At hindi na po siya nasayang, okay? Pero, so yun po, kailangan natin siya. So, dapat when we register for the exam and buy it, kailangan, na tayo, teachers, no, yung determine na tayo when to take it, okay? At mag-schedule. And again, pag-uusapan po natin yan, scheduling, registration, tips on how to go about it on our last session. Okay, so that will be reserved on our last session. Okay? Questions, teachers, bago po tayo ayan, nagtanong si Miss Ninch. Miss Ninch, wala po. You'll have to determine it on your own. Okay? Kayo po yung mag-schedule niyan. Okay? Pwede na pong bukas, o pwede na pong mamaya. Pwede na po natin schedule agad-agad. Anyway, so teachers, questions so far? Clear naman na? Okay? Yan. Welcome po, Miss Ninch. Okay. Pag may questions po, teachers, no, nakasubaybay po ako sa ating live chat. Okay? Okay, so, ilagay lang po natin sa ating live chat yung mga katanungan po natin. Okay? Or comments or suggestions. And please, teachers, no, I welcome comments. Kasi sometimes nakakalimutan din ako na aspects or tools sometimes. Do let me know. Do also help our classmates here, no? So, mag-contribute din po tayo sa ating live chat. For example, pag may napansin kayo, ay, mali, yung or something like that. Okay? Miss Garibalde Saba, once na inopen yung exam, pwede siyang putol-putol sagutan or within the day lang nabulok? Yes po, tuloy-tuloy po. Okay? So, kailangan po, pag umupo tayo for exam, 3 hours po yun na, okay? Na nakaupo po tayo at nag-i-exam. Bawal pong tumayo tayo or putol-putulin. Okay? Welcome po. Okay. Welcome po, ma'am. Okay. I hope that's able to answer your question. Okay, let's now move on, teachers. No? Ano nga bang meron tayo for today? Okay, so for today, we'll be, of course, looking at we'll now be starting our session for today and exploring some tools. No? Okay. So what will we cover for this session? Okay, so for this session, we'll be looking at G Suite first. Okay, so we'll be looking at the G Suite or what we call now the Google Workspace. Okay? Orientation, G Suite orientation. We'll try to look, of course, Google Drive checklist. We'll try to cover Google document if we can. Okay? Only if we can. No? If we cannot, we'll move it to our next session tomorrow. Okay? So, Miss M. Rose Reales, mukhang nagalit yata sa akin si Miss M. Rose dahil sa pretest, no? Uh, hindi po, no? Actually, your pretest was built 4 times as hard as the actual test. Sa actual test po, teachers, ganito po ang ma-encounter nyo. Magkakaroon lang po tayo ng 20 multiple choice. So yung binigay ko po sa inyo ng 85, medyo overkill po yun. Okay? Bakit? Ano ang intention ko ng teachers? I want you to experience already yung rigor ng test para hindi po kayo mabigla. Okay? Plus teachers, no? Doon sa pre-test natin, lahat ng test types question types, nilagay ko doon para para wala po kayo ma-miss. Lalo na po yung tinatawag na select all that applies. Sino po ang nagalit sa select all that applies? Kasi po nung nag-test ako niyan, galit na galit din ako sa select all that applies, no? Ba't pa kailangan select all that applies? Baka nang pwedeng isa lang. Mas nakakalito yung select all that applies, eh. So anyway, so yung ganong klase teachers, no? So talaga pong nilagay ko na doon lahat, plus all the coverage. So yung 85 items po na yun, I asked from Google to use their test, no? This is actually their actual test from Google that I use. Kaya po medyo mahirap po yun. Okay? Pero teachers, ang hindi ko sinama, okay? Pero actually binigay ko na rin po sa inyo, no? Okay? Kasi aside from the 20-item test, you will also be performing 11 task-based questions. Okay, so ganun po yung test. So anticipate nyo na po, teachers. Meron kayong 20 na multiple choice, which is the ones I gave you in the pre-test. Okay? At magkakaroon po kayo ng 11 task-based questions. Ano po yung task-based? Kung ginawa nyo po yung task cards nyo, teachers, isang task card, isang item. Ganun po yung tinatawag na skill-based questions. Kaya basically, teachers, no, na-experience nyo na yung buong test na 4 times ang hirap. Okay? Kasi nga, madami akong binigay using the pre-test plus the task cards. Okay? Ganun po yung structure ng test. Para po hindi kayo mabigla, teachers, no, I tried to simulate the actual test as much as I can. Yun, confusing daw po. Yan. Yun. Okay? Sir, pwede po bang mag-take ng pretest? Ang nagawa ko lang po yung task card. Oo naman po, Miss Marian. I'll open it for practice later on. Okay? Okay. By the way, teachers, ano lang, bago tayo mag-start, no? Kasi baka maging question siya later on. Okay? May certificate po ba to? Yes po. You will receive a certificate with an actual number of hours ng training natin, which is 15 hours in total, no? If I'm not mistaken. Okay? And that would be determined by a mock test. Yes po, may mock test po kayo sa dulo ng teachers. Hindi pa po tapos, no? Ang pagpapahirap ni Sir Franco. Napakasamang tao talaga ito ni Sir Franco. Papahirapan ko pa po kayo ng konti, teachers, no? I will give you a mock test that will determine your eligibility na to receive a certificate, which is, pero sama na po, dapat hindi siya maging ganun kahirap kasi pagdadaanan po natin siya lahat. Okay? Pero ang passing score for the certification is 50 out of 85. Okay? So, I gave more leeway naman, no? Kasi syempre, yung effort din natin to attend, etc. Okay? Pero kailangan, syempre, effort tayo on actually learning because that's our intention for this training. Okay? So, wala pong lalabas ng same person, the same last week or a week ago. Okay? Sana po ibang tao tayo. Okay? May mga matutunan po tayo. That's my hope. Okay? Okay, so teachers, let's now move on our first one, orientation on the G Suite. No? Okay? So unang-una, okay, I'd like to begin with this quotation from Sundar Pichai from Google. Okay? Huwag natin kalimutan that when whatever we're going to do now, okay, whatever we're going to explore, okay, it's not about to replace what we're doing. Okay? It's all about to enhance what we're doing. Okay? Kasi sa totoo lang, technology alone will not improve education. Kasi I still believe that the teachers are still the core of education. We can't remove them. Okay? No amount of technology can ever replace a teacher. Okay? Kaya lang, technology is very important because it can become a powerful part of a solution. It can assist us teachers. No? All the things that we cannot do before, for example right now, okay? Can you imagine, for example, when I was in a grade school, for example, I can't imagine handling classes or being in a class in a situation like this, okay? So that kind of integration of technology integration. Kaya nga po ang tawag doon ay technology integration, no? Hindi replacement of education because we can never replace ang mga teachers natin, okay? Because at the core of it, education remains to be humanitarian efforts. No? Talagang tao pa din ang sentro ng edukasyon. Okay? So wag po natin kalimutan yan. Baka po kasi ma-overwhelm tayo sa paggamit ng technology at isipin natin that the technology is everything. Hindi po yun magiging ganun. Okay? Okay, so teachers, first of all, what is G Suite? Or as we know now, Google Workspace. No? So these are productivity tools and collaboration tools introduced by Google in 2006. No? So G Suite for Education is also known for Google for Education tools. No? That's an umbrella term, teachers. The Google for Education is a program in itself, no, that covers training programs, tools development, certifications, etc. Okay, so all of this are covered, no, in this Google for Education. Okay, so yan po yung umbrella term natin. Okay, so it covers different productivity tools which we're going to discuss throughout. Okay, some of them you already gone through. For example, Google Classroom, Google Forms, okay, and the other one on Google Sites. No? So those kinds of tools, okay, and everything that we're going to cover in this will be part is our part, no, of the Google for Education tools na sinasabi natin. Okay. Okay, so why use Google first? Okay, so ano yung mga advantages ng using Google for education tools? Okay, so una-una, okay, you can actually cite, no, 4 important things, okay, about Google for education tools. It's a one-stop shop for education. Okay, so ibig sabihin, while Google is not at best, no, in terms of everything, no, hindi natin pwede sabihin na lahat ng tools ni Google are competent, no, to all levels or against competitions. Hindi po yung ganun. Pero at least we can say, no, that in every aspect that we're looking for, kung pinag-uusapan po natin ng edukasyon, meron pong swak na tool si Google para din sa mga pangangailangan na yan. Okay? Sinasabi po na it's accessible and secure kasi nga, secured, sorry. Kasi si Google for Education Tools ay accessible as long as you create a Google account. Okay, so pag meron ka na pong Google account, make it be it a personal or a G Suite account, okay, magkakaroon ka na ng access dito sa mga productivity tools na to. By the way, teachers, no, wag natin kakalimutan yung difference na yan between personal and a G Suite account, no. Mamaya pag-uusapan pa ulit natin yan. Okay? Kasi syempre may differences yan, no. Kung ginagamit mo yung personal account, you have some limitations in terms of access, features ng mga Google for Education tools. Okay? User-friendly. Ako personally, ito yung gusto ko sa Google, no, hindi siya ganun kahirap gamitin. It takes some time, no? May learning curve pa rin siya. Pero hindi siya ganun kahirap or ka-complicated gamitin. Okay? So, it can easily be learned, no, in a short period of time compared to other tools. Okay? Yes po. Okay? Naka-share po yan. Don't worry, Miss Charlie. Okay? Sa presentations po namin. Okay, so also this seamless communication of tools within the Google system. Isa yan sa pinaka-importanting aspect ng Google for Education tools, no? That each tool is actually able to communicate with other tools, okay? And through these teachers, no, we have an increased productivity and workflow. Napakaganda ng workflow, teachers, na pag gumagamit tayo ng mga tools for Google for Education kasi we can seamlessly transfer from one tool to another within the system. So for example, I'm using Gmail. I'd like to create a presentation. I could access my presentation right there. I could integrate, for example, my Google Calendar with my Google Meet. Okay, so that kind of interaction within the Google system, okay, allows for a more efficient productivity for its users, no? Especially for teachers. No? Okay, so let's now look yung targeted, no, targeted goals ni Google, no. So para saan ba talaga si Google for Education tools, okay? So ang talagang tina-target niya, yung tinatawag natin na 4 C's of 21st century learning, okay? So unang-una na diyan, yung tinatawag natin na tools for collaboration. Okay, so it's the strongest aspect of Google for Education tools, no. That's the reason why the tools of Google are shareable. Okay? Kasi nga gusto ni Google na maging venue, space for collaboration ang mga tools niya. No? Okay? For example, if you'd like to create a collaborative presentation, you can use Google Slides. Okay? You can create collaborative documents, you can use Google Docs, etc. Okay? You can also, of course, no, strong for communication. Okay? So, well, first and foremost, primarily, yung Gmail naman natin was built and designed to be able to communicate. And others, of course, na marami pa siya mga tools that allows for communication. No? And I think pinaka na-realize natin yung importance nitong mga tools for communications na to within the pandemic. Kasi we were forced to be at home and to communicate online. Okay? And of course, tools for creativity. Kasi syempre si Google ay isang venue, no, space for innovation. So isa yan sa rin niya, priorities niya. To make sure that our students, the next employees, no, or workforce in the 21st century are creative minds. Okay? So hindi sila pwedeng yung mga tinatawag natin na industrial prepared minds, no, na for production or for then that's it na yung mga production type of preparation. So hindi dapat kasi 21st century is all about creativity, innovation, inventions, etc. Okay? And of course, itatawag natin tools for critical thinking. Lalo na po ngayon, no, sa age of information. Actually, it's an age of too much information. Okay? There's too much information floating around. And we don't know which one is reliable or valid source, okay? Or information. Okay? And that's the reason why dapat ang mga students natin, okay, in the next workforce, no, in the near future, should be critical thinkers as well, no. The ability to look at multiple perspectives, okay, throughout, okay, a particular thing, okay. So when you stick to tools for collaboration, it's all about putting everything together, okay. Your talents, your expertise, smarts to work, okay. Kasi nga sinasabi nila, no, while it's good to be excellent at one thing, okay? It's another thing if you can actually use that excellence, no, together with the excellence of other people, okay? Kasi it increases yung efficiency at work, and of course yung quality of work as well, okay? So yun yung ng space na maabutan ng mga students natin, okay? If you watch, for example, there's this movie, I think The Intern. Tama ba yung title? It's about two guys who became interns at Google. You would see, no, that the kind of workspaces in Google, it's an open space. Kasi it actually nga, yung idea ng promotion ng collaboration. Okay? And that's been the case for other multinational companies na yung pag-open ng workspaces to encourage collaboration. Looking at a problem in a new way and linking learning across subjects and disciplines, no? So critical thinking, okay? Always looking for a new perspective, okay? And of course, the interdisciplinarity. Yun, okay, kay Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson. Sir, thank you, Sir Jay, for that. Can I share po the link to, ano muna po, no? For this trading na lang muna po. We can share that later on, okay? Tools for communication, thought, questions, ideas, and solutions, okay? So again, no, being able to facilitate that exchange of ideas, okay, exponentially increases our ability to solve problems, okay. Imagine, for example, teachers, yun na lang pong tinatawag natin na yung what do you call this? The genome breakdown of the COVID-19. That can't be done in like a week, or it takes months. No, I think months or even years sometimes to break down a genome of a particular virus to be able to produce a vaccine for that, okay? But what they did, no, during this time was to share information, okay? So in all countries where there is COVID-19, they shared information and they were able to crack the genome of COVID-19 in 3 days, okay? Facilitating an earlier development of vaccine, okay? That kind of communication, okay? And of course, tools for creativity. No, these are trying new approaches to get things done equals innovation and invention. These are all about thinking of new ways to approach a particular problem or new solutions. Okay, that's why it's called invention, innovation, and invention. Okay. Okay. So those are the forces, no, that hopefully, okay, and teachers na important yan because in your GCE examination, tinatanong din yan, no? For example, anong tool ang nagpo-promote ng when you use this tool, what does it promote? Does it promote collaboration? Does it promote communication? Does it promote critical thinking, etc.? Okay? And sometimes naka-select all ka pa. So all that applies. Okay? So ano yung pinapromote, for example, ni Google Docs? Okay? Possibly communication, collaboration. Okay? Sometimes critical thinking even. Okay? So something like that. Okay? So now, how can schools benefit from using Google for education tools? Okay? Ano ngayon yung mga benefits? No? Okay? So unang-una yung idea ng collaborate anywhere. Okay? So yung tools ni Google ay may ability to simultaneously edit documents, spreadsheets, and presentations in real time. No? So if we share, for example, Google Slides, Google Docs, and Google Sheets, no, it allows us to simultaneously um, simultaneously um, collaborate and edit particular documents. No, okay. For example, even Google Sheets or Google Slides. Okay? That's why it's actually very, very strong in terms of collaboration. Okay. And of course, so Google Slides, okay, unang-una na to, no? We'll be exploring this later on, pero just to give you an overview, so Google Slides ay isang tool for creating, co-editing, and sharing presentations online. You can actually do live presentations for your online classes. We'll be exploring that later on. And right now, teachers, more and more teachers are using Google Slides, no, as a portfolio-based assessment. Okay, so instead, for example, no, di ba portfolio basically printing your assessments, putting it in a folder, etc. So right now, more and more teachers are using um, Google Slides, no, to collate, okay, reflect on, and eventually present later on. Okay, diretso presentation after yung mga portfolio ng mga students. Okay, and again, maganda dito, naka-cloud-based siya. So walang way, no, for files to be corrupted, na mabaha, maulanan, yung mga files ng mga students natin. Okay, so safe and sound, no, yung portfolio ng mga students. And since it's simultaneously being edited, could be shared online, you can actually track the progress of your students. And the beauty of Google Slides as a portfolio assessment. Okay? I know that a lot of you here already have explored this. Okay? Sir Florence Caceres, Sir, can we access the record for today's session? Di po kasi talaga maayos. Yes po, Sir Florence. This is will be uploaded an hour or 2 hours after our training. Inintay lang ma-process ni Google. But once it's processed, you can already access this. Okay? So Google Docs, create, co-edit, and share documents online. Create modules using HyperDocs. Okay? Ang ganda rin po yan. Imagine, modules in one page. That actually is very, very possible using Google Docs. No more multiple pages, okay, to be given to our students. Okay? Use to track progress and real-time feedback to your students. Perhaps one of the most important aspect of assessments is feedback mechanism. And Google Document just provides you that. Okay? The ability to comment, no, right there, okay, even before the submission is done by the student. Okay? You can actually help the student revise, okay, and eventually improve their works, no, through time. Okay? And of course, Google Sheets, no, for creating, co-editing, sharing data, sheets online. You can also analyze and automate the data processing. Maybe this is not my strongest point, my strongest tool. No, mostly I use Google Sheets for data processing, but mostly for example, certificate processing. Okay, ginagamit ko to automate certificates. Yeah, and distribution as well, okay, etc. Okay. Also, in many cases, I also use it for grading sheets. No? So it's excellent for grading sheets as it allows you to compute the grades of your students automatically, no? Using the formulas. Works the same with Excel. Okay, Microsoft Excel. Okay. Pero syempre, hindi ko po ipopromote si Microsoft Excel. Okay. Alam ko mas madami ang gumagamit ng Microsoft Excel. No? Okay. Collaborate anywhere, teachers, is also talking about Google Drive, which we're going to talk about today. No? We're going to explore the entire Google Drive for today. Okay, so it's sharing of files from a centralized storage area. Okay, but of course, your access to Google Drive, your data storage depends, no, on your account. No? So your personal accounts usually have a 15 gigabyte storage capacity, while if you're using G Suite accounts, no, you're given unlimited data storage. Okay? So teachers, no, may way to expand your data, okay, in your your Google Drive. Pero hindi po yan sa mga third-party applications, no? Meron po ako nabalitaan na isang teacher, bumili po ng storage na 500 pesos from a third party, no? At nawala lang yung kanyang mga files. Okay, so huwag po natin gawin yan. Kung interested po kayo mag-expand ng inyong data, ng inyong limit, no, sa Google Drive, meron po tinatawag na Google One. Okay? As in one, O-N-E. Okay? You can actually subscribe, no, to a larger storage file. Okay? So I think a monthly subscription will get you to 100 gigabytes. Okay? A $15 subscription gets you to 200 gigabytes. Okay? So that should not, pero again, basta don't get po to third party. Kasi basically, yung ginagawa lang ng mga third party, nag-share lang sila ng folder ng drive nila. Okay? Tapos, sinishare lang po sa inyo. Okay? So, pag nawala po, pag tinanggal po nila yung folder niya, nawawala na rin po yung files niya. Okay? So, be careful on that. Okay? So it's all about creating, co-editing, and sharing data files. No? So Google Drive, no, makes sharing of files so much easier. Okay, by assigning a link, no, and sharing this via email as well. It allows sharing of files across different spaces and devices. Okay, it's cloud-based. Okay, so it does not take storage from your device. Okay, unless you afford, no, yung tinatawag nating offline mode ni Google Drive, which will eat up your device storage. No? Uy, 2D. Oh. From Google, from Architect John Echeverry. Okay? 2 terabytes for 479 per month for Google One po. Okay? So Google One po, Architect. No? Maraming salamat, Architect John Echeverry, for that. Ang laki naman nun, 2 terabytes. Parang, gano'n ba kadaming files na kailangan mong i-store? Anyway, maraming salamat, Architect John Echeverry, for that clarification. Okay, so that's Google Drive for your teachers. Okay, so next natin, teachers, communicate your way. No? So Google for Education tools, no, provide you different ways to communicate. No? You have Gmail, okay? You have Google Meet, what we're doing right now, and Google Chat as well. Okay, so accessible and secured communication platforms because it's, number one, anchored on your Google accounts. No? So, for example, right now, I have the capacity to not admit someone, okay, because I could assign, no, and pre-invite people into my Google Meet, okay, etc. Even Google Chat, teachers, you can only chat, no, if you have Google account as well. Okay, so your data are properly stored and communicated in the chat platform as well. Okay. So dapat po unlimited ng Google Drive, pero hindi po ako marunong gumamit. Now, teacher, ano po yan? Automatic po yan. Ibig sabihin lang po ng unlimited, Miss Divine, as long as your Google Drive is signed into your DepEd account, okay? Kahit ano pong data ilagay nyo dun or files, no? It will, it has an unlimited file capacity. Okay? So hindi po siya magli-limit, no? Okay. Okay. Okay, so Gmail, teachers, is an integrated account system. Okay, so everything begins with Gmail. Okay, so if you'd like to access the Google for Education tools, it begins with Gmail. Okay, and also, right now, okay, Google is trying to integrate or increase yung integration sa loob ng Gmail. Right now, for example, makikita nyo na ang Gmeet nyo sa loob ng Gmail. Nandun na rin si Calendar, si Google Keep, Google Tasks, etc. Okay? So, halos ng tools natin are accessible via Gmail. Okay? That's actually one of the directions that that Google is heading to, no? In this pandemic. Okay? Personal and G Suite accounts, teachers, no? Basically, teachers, no? Easiest way to determine if you are using a personal account, it has a domain at gmail.com. So any Gmail that ends there at gmail.com is a personal account. Okay? A G Suite account will always have a specific domain. Okay? So ibig sabihin, nag-iiba-iba yung at after niya. Okay? For example, ako, I have 2 G Suite accounts. I have one in Ateneo. So it's at Ateneo. So it's Franco F. Adun at ateneo.edu. Okay? My Savior domain G Suite account is Franco P. Adun at Savior at xs.edu.ph. Okay? Why? Because when you create a G Suite account, no, for your schools or your institutions, okay, it automatically asks for your website. Okay? Kaya requirement po yan. Sa mga nag-iisip po, kung meron po tayong mga kasama dito na private schools na nag-iisip na mag-transition to G Suite accounts, you will have to secure a domain first, no, before applying for a G Suite account. Okay, it's easy, teachers. Once you have a domain, sobrang dali na po mag-apply ng G Suite account. No? Okay, you will be prompted all throughout the process. Okay, but that's the first thing that you have to secure. Okay, because your email will depend on your domain. Okay, so anong name po ng Gmail nyo or ng domain nyo will become part of your Gmail account name. Okay? Integrated tools as well. Okay, so you can access, no? Again, sabi ko kanina, you can access many tools inside Gmail. Okay, Google Meet, okay, to conduct synchronous sessions like this. For example, teachers, secured meetings, okay? Lalo na po ngayon, meron na siyang host controls, okay? So you can actually access that already. You can limit who shares in Gmeet, who can access. If you create your Gmeet via calendar, you can specifically invite people, no? In doing so, it will not allow anyone who's not invited to enter your meeting, okay? But for example, since inopen ko to freely or openly, hindi po tayo nakapasok agad, no? I still have to admit you because this is a particular domain, okay? That's also one of the securities teachers, no? When you create a meeting using a particular G Suite account, okay, it automatically bars people who have no same domain to enter into your meeting, okay? And dahil po ito ay trainer's account ko, this is the GSEFE account, okay? Lahat po ng mga walang GSFE account, hindi po, kailangan ko pang i-admit personally or manually, okay? Pwede rin, no? Kaya lang, Sir Aaron, based on experience, okay, actually, binigyan din kami ng sa trainer's account namin ng domain hosting. Ang complicated lang talaga ng process. So, baka lang meron po kayong iba pang suggestions ng nag-host ng domain. Actually, ako naman, hindi ko naman kailangan bumili, so hindi ko siya ina-explore pa. Pero based on the experience of other trainers, sobrang complicated lang daw po talaga pag nag-try po kayo mag-apply ng domain hosting sa Google. So they find it, for example, sometimes frustrating. Hindi na lang sila nag-apply. Yan. Okay, may suggestion po from Sir Aaron Batak, no? Please do consider that. If you are thinking on creating a domain first. G Suite accounts. Okay? Google Chat. Okay, so si Google Chat, teachers, ay walang pinagkaiba sa inyong messengers. It's a chatting application, okay? Used to communicate, no? Although, two important key things here. Number one, it allows threaded replies, okay? Na-experience ko na rin to sa ibang mga messaging apps, no? For example, also Viber, okay pa eh. Pero for example, Facebook Messenger, yes, pwede kang mag-reply, no? Pero pag natabunan na yon, pwede na umakyat yung message mo, okay? At sometimes, pag nyari, communicate ka sa mga students mo, at nag-announce ka, at meron kang 40 students, pag nag-reply yun ng okay or noted, nawawala na yung message mo. Sa Google Chat, teachers, it allows for threaded replies. Ibig sabihin, nag-reply si student or nag-reply yung ibang users, they only reply to the conversation that you created. Okay, so you can create a discussion and naka-collapse dun yung mga replies nila. So it's more organized now because they're organized based on discussions. And yung mga thread replies, okay, in that discussion are collapsed, no, within that particular discussion. So it's a more organized. When you explore this, teachers, no, next time, I'll be showing you how it looks like and how organized is when you have threaded replies. Okay? So you'll appreciate it. Second, teachers, secured ang chat rooms nyo kasi naka-anchor to sa inyong Google account. Ibig sabihin, kung wala kang Google account, hindi mo to pwedeng gamitin. Okay? Plus, kung ginamit mo, dahil ito ay nakalimit lang, by the way, teachers, sa mga G Suite account users. Okay? Automatically, meron kang access, no, doon sa domain. No? So, pwede mo nang invite, for example, yung mga nasa same domain mo, okay? Na may sariling, may same domain as your email. Okay? And plus, no, since naka-domain account kayo or naka-G Suite account kayo, you have like an information who's accessing or you're sure na hindi what you call that, mga spam emails yung mag-a-access ng chat rooms mo. Okay? And of course, maganda rin dito, it's available for desktop and mobile app access. No? So I'm highly suggesting, teachers, next year, when you still continue, for example, a blended setup na meron po kayong printed modules, tas communication using a chatting platform, explore nyo po si Google Chat. No? It's a big help, no, for our students and for our for you then as teachers po. Okay. Okay, you can also, it also helps you organize, no? Google for Education, sorry. Helps you organize. Wala yung logo ni calendar, okay? Organize your tasks. So see, via Google Keep, no? We'll be exploring that. That's an integrated tool into your Gmail. Nandun po siya sa right side panel ng Gmail nyo, okay? And of course, si Google Calendar, no? One of my favorite Google for Education tools, no? Is sobrang pinapadali niya yung buhay ko in terms of like organization, reminding me about events, creating links, no? Recurring links for your Google Meet. Doon din po siya ginagawa. Okay? So for example, no, kung gusto niyo po mag-create ng link, for example, itong link po na to teachers, hindi po ito mag-expire. Okay? Ito po ang gagamit natin all throughout our training. So hindi po ako magpapadala ng bagong Google Meet link, no, para sa inyong lahat. Okay? This will be the same link all throughout until February 5 for our culmination of our training program. Okay? So, ganong klase ng integration, no, the organization. Okay. Manage your virtual classroom. So, Google Forms helps you perform assessments. Okay. Google Classroom helps you manage your classes, no, announcements, giving of assignments, etc. I hope that my Google Classroom walkthrough was able to help you. Although, of course, no, meron ng several updates that we have to take note of, no, sa Google Classroom. And maybe, if we have time, okay, I'll be taking you, I'll be giving you glimpses, no, dun sa mga updates na yan para hindi din po kayo masyadong left behind, no. Baka nag-update na rin ng item si Google sa kanyang GCE examination. Okay? Although hindi naman ganun kahirap yung mga updates niya sa Google for sa Google Classroom, no, or and other Google for Education tools. Okay, so Google Forms, you can assign quizzes, collect data. You can also design instruction, no? Sino na po nakapag-explore sa Google Form na ginamit ang Google Form for teaching? Kasi pwede rin siya talagang gamitin, no, for instruction, okay? Ayun, si Sir, nagtaas siya ng kamay. Okay. Si Sir na hindi ko makita yung pangalan, Sir. Hindi lumalabas pangalan ni Sir, na naka-polo with red collar. Yan, okay? Yan. Sir, maraming salamat na. Meron silang tinatawag, for example, sa Google sa Google Form, tinatawag na create your own adventure, okay? Wherein you create an instruction, okay, with designated paths, no? Okay? So the students will be brought to certain sections containing different instructions and activities and maybe lessons. This is perfect for catching up, no? For example, you're just trying to review your students, okay, on your particular topic, and you'd like to let them choose, no, which topics they're having a hard time. You can actually use that, no. It's called create your own adventure, okay? Pero yun nga, very common, syempre ginagamit siya for attendance. Ako for attendance ko siya ginagamit for quizzes, for summative assessments, etc. Okay? So pwede po natin gamitin. Pero again, yan, sasabi ko nga teachers, pwede rin po siyang gamitin for instruction, for actual teaching, no? Not only for assessments. Okay? Okay, so Google Classroom, you can build your modules here, implement your modules here, assign activities, assess your students, and manage progress. Okay, so very, very powerful, no, si Google Classroom. Okay, and again, ang pinakagusto ko kay Google Classroom is that dahil merong sariling system si Google, okay, it has integrated several tools. No, you can find your Google Drive inside your Google Classroom. You can find your own calendar inside your Google Classroom. So may designated calendar, may designated folder, etc. No? Okay? In your Google, you can access all your Google Drive files. Okay? You can create Google documents inside Google Classroom as well. Okay? Those kinds of integration makes Google Classroom, no, a perfect, not a perfect, no, but a really good learning management system, especially in these times of the pandemic. Okay. Okay. So okay. So this kind of teachers, no, yung integration ng mga tools na to, okay, is something that we appreciate, no, something that we have to take note of, no. This is not necessarily going to be part of your GCE examination, okay, your level 1, okay, but those who are looking forward to GCE 2, magiging importante po ito, no, yung how these tools are communicating with each other, and how they're able to enhance learning or student learning. Okay? Pero that's one of the things that I appreciate na, the integrated system. Okay, so and the last one, teacher, siguro, is that we have to take note that G Suite accounts or the Google Workspace also provide what they call the administrative console, no, or control. Okay, so pag gumawa po tayo ng Google G Suite accounts natin, okay, someone in your organization will have access to your accounts. No? Okay, they can manage yung mga emails po natin, what applications we get to have access to, okay, yung mga na pwede po nating ma-download at magamit sa ating account, no. Kaya po sa mga DepEd account users po natin, medyo madami po yata mga naka-block, no, na restricted application. Sometimes lagi ako nagkakaroon ng complaints from teachers na meron silang mga hindi na-access na tools, pero dahil nga po yun sa account na ginagamit natin. Okay? Yan. So for example po, ang inyong Google Classroom, no, hindi po kayo maka-access kapag DepEd ang inyong ginamit dun sa Google Classroom natin, okay, sa training na to, okay? So that is an example of restrictions, okay? Yan, okay? So what does administrative control does, no? It helps manage students' devices and security, lalo na po kung gumagamit kayo ng Chromebooks, teachers, no? Meron kasi mga institutions or schools, kahit yung mga devices nila, Google na din. Okay, so yung tinatawag natin na Google Chromebooks po, no? Okay? It can manage your data. Okay? Even, for example, no, you can also limit yung sending limit niya for your Gmails. Okay? They can also block, no, certain access to certain tools, applications. Okay? Even access to websites, no, using your Chrome, etc. So those kinds of restrictions can be done within your admin's console. So lagi niyo pong hanapin ang sino ang may admin console sa inyong organization kung naka-G Suite po kayo. Okay pa. Okay, so that's your admin console. Okay, so aside from the teachers, no, so marami din kayong mga iba pang mga tools na pwede pang ma-explore, no? Not necessarily part ng Google Workspace, pero these are also tools na part ng Google for Education, no? Okay? So you have the Google Drawing, that red icon right there. Okay, so you have also Google Groups, okay, Google Maps, okay, Google Earth, Google Books, Google Translate, Google Expedition. This one, the Science Journal, no, I think hindi na siya part ng Google. I think last September, not October, not mistaken, tinanggal na siya among the Google. So, wag yun na po siyang problemahin, no? Pero sayang, teachers, yan, ang ganda niyan, Science Journal, para po sa ating mga science teachers. Kung hindi na po siya part ng Google, pero available online pa rin naman po yata, I think yan, no? You can create experiments using your mobile phones using the Science Journal application. Okay, so, baka pwede niyo po siyang, yan, so si Sir Aaron Batak po, okay, yan. Siya po ay isang administrator in G Suite. And Jamboard, and also your Google Scholar, no, for your articles and journals. Okay? Okay. Thank you, Sir Aaron. Okay, buti nila meron tayong admin console dito, no? So malaking tulong po si Sir Aaron. Okay, Sir Aaron, pag may mga nami-miss, no, please do let me know. And also help our teachers pag hindi ko po nasagot yung mga questions nila. Okay. Thank you po, Sir Aaron. Okay, so key features ni Google, no? Maraming salamat, si Aaron. Yan. Okay, so unang-una, cloud-based, no? Lahat ng mga tools natin. Okay, so automatic features na pag gumagawa po tayo ng mga files in your Google Sites, Google Forms, Google Docs, Google Slides, automatic po yan are being stored in your Google Drive. Okay? So the moment you create your files, okay, it's already stored in your Google Drive. Therefore, it becomes cloud-based. Okay? So it does not take up any file storage in your device. Okay? Sir BJ, ito po ay tinatawag na Prezi. Kaya alam ko po meron, you can access this prezi.com, itong presentation overlay po, no? Kaya alam may bayad po yata siya, Sir, no? Kasi naka premium account po ako sa sa Prezi. Pero I think meron siyang trial version po. You can try that out. Okay? It's called Prezi Video. Okay. Okay, so aside from being cloud-based teachers, no, it also provides now an offline mode. Okay, you can actually access your files from Google Drive offline without internet connection, as well as your documents, no, your Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides. No? So those kinds of documents you can actually access offline. Mamaya po pag-usapan natin yan when we talk about Google Drive. And of course, sharing options. Okay, it provides shareability of resources. Okay, and I think was one of the things that we appreciate. No? The moment you drag a file into Google Drive, makes it shareable. Okay, regardless of the file. Accessibility features, no, making it accessible to all, as long as you create a Google account. All the teachers, please be mindful, no, except for those na naka G Suite accounts, okay? Kapag gumawa po ng personal Gmail ng isang bata below 13 years old, okay? Automatic po that Google will require him to link it to his parents' accounts, okay? Pero kapag naka G Suite po, no, kahit below 13 years old yung bata, hindi po yung hinahanapan ng parents linking, no? Why? Because it's already under a supervision of the admin console. So meron na pong supervision. Okay? So hindi na kailangan. Pero other than that, teachers, no, you should not have any problems accessing Google for Education tools using a Google account. The moment you create a Gmail, you have access to that. Okay? Speaking of which, teachers, no, the only way to access Google for Education tools is using your Gmail. Okay? So to set up a Gmail is a prerequisite for Google for Education account. Okay? Not Yahoo, not any other. Google for Education account, Gmail, okay, or Google account. Okay? Yung pong prerequisite niyan. Okay? Although, for example, teachers, okay, you've noticed that if a Google form, for example, does not require any sign-in, it will allow you to accomplish the form even if you're not signed in into any account, no? Let alone be a Google account. Okay? Sometimes may mga ganun. Pero if you like to create files, okay, in Google for Education tools, you'll have to have a Google account. Okay? Or if you want to edit, comment, okay, like that. Okay? Okay, so you have two options, no, to create this one. Okay, so you have personal accounts, okay, via account.google.com. You'd like to create one now. Okay, G Suite account via gsuite.google.com. That will prompt you to create a G Suite account, no, for your school or for your institution. Okay, again, don't forget you'll have to have your domain. Okay, welcome po, Sir BJ. Welcome po. Okay. Ganda po ito, Sir BJ. Try nyo siyang download. Okay, questions, teachers, before we go through our first walkthrough for today, which is Google Drive. Okay. Wala po? No questions, concerns, violent reactions? Required po ba na magkaroon ng G Suite account? In what sense, Sir Charlie? Ano po ang gusto natin gawin? Kasi hindi na po siya required. Okay? Even the personal Gmail will have access to the different Google for Education account. For example po, Sir Charlie, no, yung pong ating Google Classroom was created using a personal account. Okay? Ginawa ko po yun using a personal account. Okay? So, I can access different tools. Okay? Is Google Classroom an LMS? Yes po, Miss Ninch. Google Classroom is a learning management system. It allows you to manage student activities and learnings. Okay? Okay. Sir Migs, manglit po. Kasi po kailangan yung gumawa ng domain. Okay? Unless po gagawa tayo ng ano, no? Isang G Suite account para sa ano po. Kailangan talaga part po siya ng organizations or mga ano po, institutions. So usually, for example, sa mga schools, okay, kung di ba po, encourage yung mga schools niyo po no, to undergo transformation. Madali lang naman po yan. Sir or Miss Jofil Aranyas, no? Google Meet, meron na po siyang limit ngayon as of September 30. Okay? 100 po ang limit niya. Okay? Right now po, pumapalo tayo ng 100 to 101 right now. Okay? Kasi po naka-enterprise account ako ngayon. Okay? This was given to us by Google, no, for all the Google for Education trainers. So I think 150 or 200 po yung limit. Okay. Yun lang po. Yun po yung sasabi natin kanina, Sir Sandro, no? Merong mga limitations. Pero kung pinag-usapan po natin ay grade import, rubric, etc., meron po ang personal Gmail. Okay? For example po, Sir Sandro, no, bigyan ko kayo ng example ng wala sa personal Gmail. If we're talking about Google Classroom, walang parents report, okay, ang personal Gmail sa classroom. Okay? Kasi po, kapag ang gamit niyo po ay G Suite account, pwede kayo magbigay ng parent summary which will send reports to parents. Wala po yan sa personal Gmail. For G Suite account lang po yan. Are you required to use account in taking the exam or no po? Yeah. Personal account, account for the GC examination. As long as Miss Gia, maging consistent lang po tayo. Kung ano po yung ginamit nyo pang registration, yun na po yung gagamitin nyo. Although, teachers, please be, wag na po natin kalimutan. Pag nag-take po kayo ng exam nyo, okay, ng GCE, part ng exam details nyo, Google will send you a temporary Gmail account which we will use, no, during your examination. Okay? Kasi gagawin niya, i-record ni Google lahat ng gagawin mo at lahat ng answer mo dun sa Google account na yan. Kaya magbibigay siya ng temporary. Okay? So yung registration mo, Miss Gia, is all about so they could send you your exam, they could send you your exam results, okay, etc. Okay? Naku, marami na po, Sir Jason. Okay? Although iba, limited lang. For example, breakout rooms. Nasa enterprise na po yan. May breakout rooms na. For example, itong account na to, teachers, no, may breakout rooms to. Meron na kayo mga activities, for example, polls, kay questions, kay, etc. Okay? Yun. Thank you, Sir Aaron. No? Hindi ko pala na-explore ano kadami yung limit ko. Sir, pwede domain in our school po. Can I use that for my personal account po? We do have a domain in our school po. Can I use that for my personal account? Miss ba talaga yun? Kapag personal account po talaga yun. Okay? Kapag magsiset po kayo ng G Suite account niyo, it's for your school or your institution po talaga. Yan. Daming question lang po, no? Bago tayo. Tapusin ko muna po yung mga questions, no? When sharing a shared drive, do we need to ask the person we are adding to create a Google account? We are currently subscribed to an enterprise account. Yes po, para po ma-access niyo yung Google Drive nyo, kailangan meron siyang Google account. Okay? Sir, with regards po to task cards, ginamit ko po yung DepEd email namin kasi hindi po available sa personal account Gmail. Okay lang po, Miss Rasha May, Mary Daphne. Okay lang po. Pero sana po walang mga restrictions, no? Kasi may mga nag-report sa akin na pag DepEd account yung ginamit nila, meron silang mga hindi na-access, no? Pero sana po, Sir Migs, your exam, if it's about the mock exam, we will set that. If it's your exam, your GCE exam, you'll have to set it on your own. Kayo pong bahala. Okay? Wag lang po sobrang tagal, no? I always recommend na sana po in 2 weeks time after the training, or siguro pa pinakamatagal na yung 1 month, no? Mag-take na po kayo ng exam nyo. Kasi baka po mag-lapse yung, yung freshness ng memory, yung freshness ng review, etc. So sana po, i-capture na kagad natin habang mainit pa. Okay? Sabi nga nila, no, di ba? Mas masarap ang pandesal pag mainit. So, yun na. Kain na kagad natin. Huwag natin palampasin. Sayang. Okay? Kung nagutom si ma'am. No? Kita ko sa monitor ko, na-react si ma'am. Sir, when I shared my files on Google Drive, I use get link instead of share. Mayroon po bang difference? Yes po, Sir Sandro. No? Mamaya pag-uusapan natin yan. Sir Noli, pag-uusapan po natin yan. Meron po tayong orientation day for the registration, paano magbayad, kanino magbabayad, definitely po hindi sa akin, okay? Wala po kayo babayad kay Sir Franco, no? At kahit kanino po, no, wag po tayo magbabayad basta-basta, okay? I-guide ko po kayo all throughout, okay? Secured po ang inyong pera kay Sir Franco. Okay, so teachers, let's now go through our walkthrough ng ating Google Drive for today, okay? Let's go to our I'll be using a G Suite account, okay, para lang po mas but I'll be pointing out which features of the Google Drive are not present in your personal accounts, okay? Pero para lang po mas fully ma-explore natin lahat, okay? Okay, so let's now begin on Google Drive teachers. Teachers, baka mag-overtime lang tayo ng konti. I hope you don't mind. 10 minutes or 15 minutes of overtime. No? Okay? But for those who have really something after 8:30, baka po may mga nag-set na ng date by 8:30 kasi tapos na dapat ang training, go ahead na po. No? Hindi ko po kayo pipigilan. You can watch video, no? Kasi mas mahalaga po ang love life naman talaga. Okay? Hindi pa natin yan pinagkakait, no? Okay, so teachers, no, when we want to access Google Drive, there are several access points, no. You can access this. Sorry. Okay. You can access your Google Drive via your apps launcher, both in Chrome. So when you open your Chrome, in the upper right corner, for example, okay, you will always, the app launcher is that 9-dot button. For a while, teachers. Okay, that 9-dot button, no, is your apps launcher, no. That's both visible in your Chrome. So when you open your Chrome, automatically you'll see that in the upper right corner. Okay, as well as when you open your Gmail, that should also be there. Makikita niyo po din yung apps launcher niyo. Okay, so nandun po makita niyo yung inyong Google Drive. As well as teachers, kung madalas niyo pong ginagamit or inad niyo as a shortcut si Google Drive, it should appear right in your Chrome. Okay? So yan po yung mga access natin for your Google Drive. Or kung meron po kayong mobile phones, Google Drive po ay downloadable by your App Store or your Google Play. No? So you can download, you can access also your files via your mobile devices. Okay? So that's how we access your Google Drive. No? So how do we create files? No? So there are two ways to create files. Okay? The easiest way, of course, is to go to that button on the upper left corner, new. Okay? So that plus new allows you to create multitudes of files. Okay? So iba't ibang mga files po yun. No? Sorry. Okay, so when you create new teachers, no, it will allow you to create several files. Okay, let's just open that. Okay? So it's either you create a folder. Okay, so pag gusto niyo pong gumawa ng mga folders, gumawa niyo mag-upload ng files, or yung ano ngayon na-appreciate ko to na dinagdag nila yung folder upload. So hindi niyo na po kailangan mag-upload individually ng mga files na pwede siyang whole folders, okay? Para naka-organize na rin directly into Google Drive when you upload it, okay? Or you can also create files, different Google files, no? So your Google Documents, your Google Sheets, Google Slides, no? And Google Forms could also be created here. You can create, click more, and you'll find other options not to create. Google Drawings, Google Maps, Google Sites, Google App Scripts for creating applications, okay? And Google Jamboard as well, okay? Or a much more simple way is to simply right-click on any space, no, in your Google Drive that should show you an option, a similar option in your Google Drive. That's how simple we create files in Google Drive. Okay. Okay, so accessing files. Okay, so meron ka rin iba't ibang ways no, to access your files. Okay. And to access your files, you only need to, of course, you can go to the left side. Okay, when you go to the left side of your Google Drive, okay, meron ka mga options on how to access your files. No? Okay, so you have, of course, your My Drive mo. Your My Drive teachers, no, pakitandaan po natin. Your My Drive contains all files that you are the owner. You are the creator. Okay, so if you create a file, it goes to your My Drive files. Okay, so if you're sure, for example, if you're looking for a file that you have created, then you go to My Drive files. It should be there. Okay. Now, it was mentioned kanina na mentioned to kanina ng isang teacher, no? One of our teachers here, one of our classmates, the shared drives, okay, is basically creating like a sub drive, no, in your Google Drive. Okay. Of course, that would also in the same way it up the same amount of data. But of course, again, kung naka-unlimited use naman tayo, okay, so it should not be a problem, okay? And then you also have that shared with me files, no? The shared with me files, okay, contains all the files that you are not the owner, but you are that have been shared to you. Okay? So lahat mo ng mga shinesa inyo, regardless if you're the editor, viewer, commenter mode, nakalagay po yan sa inyong shared with me. Okay? So normally teachers, no, syempre kapag nasa shared with me po yan, hindi niyan basta-basta syempre pwedeng ma-organize or kung hindi po kayo ina-allow mag-edit, hindi nyo rin po yan ma-edit at hindi nyo po yan ma-share, no? Okay? So, nang basta-basta, depending on your permission, okay? So that your shared with me files, okay? Or you can also access your files via recent, no? Actually, very efficient for workflow, no? If you think that you've accessed your files in yesterday or last week, okay, you can actually access it using the recent files, okay? Para ipapakita niyo po sa inyo yung mga recent files that you have opened or have access or have activities teachers, no? Okay? And you can also start it or the starred files, no? I always recommend these teachers, no, for files that you often open. So for example, yung mga grade books nyo, mga grade sheets nyo, for example, minutes of the meeting na kailangan nyo po laging ina-access, or mga files that you also always have to edit over time, I recommend that you start them, okay? Para po madali siyang lang ma-access. You don't need to look for it kasi kapag po ang Google Drive ni teachers ay matanda na, no? Nag-accumulate na kayo ng mga files, it's so hard to locate sometimes some of the files, no, over time, okay? So maganda nagtatagging tayo ng mga important files that we need to have access to most of the time, okay? And of course, so yung teachers, no, or the last one would be to search for it, okay? Si Drive teachers, no, is maganda sa aspect ni Drive is that meron siyang tinatawag na advanced search capability. So even for example, words or tags or even images, no, in scanned documents are recognizable by Google Drive. So pwede rin niya ipakita sa inyo kahit naka-PDF file siya or na-scanned image siya. Okay? So very efficient ang search results ni Google. Okay? Ni Google Drive. Okay? So it should not be as hard. Okay? Pero mamaya, pag-uusapan natin yung organization, no? Organization of files is first and foremost the easiest way so that you could always access your files, no? So wag mo siya itatapon lang sa my drive mo basta-basta kasi tendency niya talaga mawawala yun dyan. Okay? So from the get-go teachers, no? The moment you create your files, okay, you should have already a proactive way of organizing your files right away. Kaya parang hindi po nawawala agad. Okay? Kasi syempre, pag tinapon po natin yan, hindi po mawala agad. Okay? At hindi pa natin yan gusto, lalo na po sa mga important files natin. Okay? So that's how we access files, teachers. Okay, so next natin is organizing files. Okay, so now, okay, of course, the perfect way, no, to organize your files is to create folders. Okay, so yan ang unang-unang dapat ginagawa natin, no? Lalo na po, for example, for files that you know that you will accumulate over time. So for example, no, grade sheets, no, yan, sections. Marami kayong mga sections na handle. You might want to create an entire folder for your grade sheets, no. Or ako, for example, I create big folders, no, for my files. For example, school year 2021. Okay, so lahat po ng files ko, subfolders are inside that folder. No? Okay, so when we want to create a folder, again, just like what we did kanina, we can right-click on a space, or we can go to the plus new button, okay, and we can create a folder. For example, let's create this one. Okay. By teachers, no, si Google Classroom, may sarili po yung folder. No? Okay, nag-create po yung sariling folder. So for example, this is a sample folder. Okay, let's create that. Okay. Okay, so now, once you've created teachers notes, you can do several things now. I suggest, number one, the naming is very important, okay? So don't create, for example, mga hashtag underscore, so many characters for your folders. Create tags, no? So alamin niyo po yung mga clear tags or naming para sa folders niyo, okay? Isa sa unang, and also take note that your folders are always arranged alphabetically, okay? So if you'd like, for example, a file name, a folder to always appear on top of all your folders, no, then you might want to devise a way that you put letter A, for example, dun sa folder na yun, okay, so that it always goes on top, no, or numbers, para po lagi siya sa taas or nasa unahan ng mga folders nyo. Okay? When you right-click, for example, also on your folder, okay, you can do several things, no? Okay, so you can start it. Okay, so isa po yung mga sabi po natin kanina, no, na if something is important, you might want to start it. Okay, di ba po sabi natin, di ba? Pag mahalaga ang isang tao, bituin ng buhay natin yan. So start natin. Okay. So pwede mo start. That's one way to organize it, no? Para it goes to the start documents, and it could easily be accessed later on. Okay. Second, you can rename it anytime. Okay, so again, you can facilitate renaming so that you can organize no, yung arrangement ng mga files nyo, etc. Okay, you can also change colors. Okay, so you can do color coding of your folders. Okay, so when you do change colors, you can choose, for example, let's make this yellow. Okay, now it becomes more distinguishable, no, compared to the dark gray default color ng mga folders natin. Okay, so madali na po siyang ma-organize. Okay? So again, organizing files in Google Drive, okay, the first thing that we have to do is yung tinatawag nating creating folders. Okay? And again, no, sa loob ng folders natin, pwede kayong mag-create ng subfolders. For example, if you see this folder, training session, okay? If you open that, for example, let me show you how it looks like. I have multiple folders again inside the folder. Okay? So yung mga subfolders ko. Okay? So you can actually also do that. Okay? So example, I have here the recorded sessions from batch 1 to batch 4, etc. Okay? Okay. Okay, so next natin, teachers, is yung tinatawag nating priority filing. Okay? So ito po ay available lang sa ating mga G Suite users. No? You can you see this using a personal Gmail account. Okay? So sa mga gumagamit po ng G Suite accounts, you should see an additional tab on top of your My Drive. Okay? So you have there the priority filing. So yung priority. Okay? So sama na lang sa mga important things lang to take note na bago gamitin ng priority filing. Okay? Priority filing is all about organizing. So it does not allow you to upload. Okay? So hindi ka pwedeng mag-direct upload sa priority filing mo. Okay? The file should exist already in your My Drive before it gets to be filed into your priorities. Okay? So once it's done, pwede mo nang i-organize yung mga files mo inside your Google Drive into your priority or workspaces. Okay? So when you click on that, okay, you can see no buttons to create workspaces. So tinatawag po ito mga workspaces, teachers, no. So basically what you do, no, is to put files together belonging to the same maybe theme, topic, or commonalities, no. So for example, yan, yung mga workspaces ko, teachers, no. Siyempre hindi ko lang nilalagyan kasi hindi naman ito yung actual ko na account for this, ano, na. Sample ko lang ito, teachers, no. So for example, meron akong workspace for Ateneo files. So lahat ng mga files ko from Ateneo, I will curate it here so I could easily access it. Meron akong workspace for GCE Level 2 training materials kasi I'm looking for, madali ko na siya makita. So I'm looking, for example, no, you might want, for example, to create a workspace for grades. Okay? So lahat ng mga grading sheets mo are collected, no, or put together into this. It works the same as a folder. Okay? Pero mas maganda dito, mas visible siguro, at mas organized, no, yung arrangement ng mga files mo. Okay? Limit lang, teachers, no. May limit tayo for files that you can put in each workspace. You have a 25 files limit. Wala pa sa data, no. It's really files. Okay. Okay. Noli Tambon, yes. Thank you so much, Miss Marion Ordiona. Okay. Are local files automatically uploaded in Google Drive? Hindi po, no. Although, hindi ko pa lang na-explore, Sir Noli, no? Meron kang tinatawag na Google Drive file stream because there are some devices that you can actually link and sync, no? Hindi tinatawag na syncing. You can actually sync your files into your Google Drive, no? If you'd like, no? Pero I know it's not available. It's not within the Google system. I think it has something to do with the device, okay? Yun, yung file stream, yung tinatawag na file stream. Para pinapasok niya automatically to Google Drive yung mga files mo. Okay? Okay. Pero otherwise po, you should you should upload your files into your Google Drive. Okay? Drag and drop lang naman po yun. Okay, so now when you want to create a workspace mo, so click lang po natin create. it will prompt you to name your workspace. Okay? So for example, let's create a sample workspace. Okay. Now, once you're done creating, may magpa-pop po na pwede na kayong mag-add ng files nyo kagad. No? Hindi lang siya lumabas. So, ayan po. So, dapat mag-pop up po kagad yung prompt that you can add files already. Okay, so again, take note, teachers, you are not to upload files. No? Dapat naka-upload na po yung files bago nyo siya ma-add. Okay? So, add nyo po yung files. So, you can choose no, among the files that you'd like to arrange, no? Or you want to put into this workspace. Okay. So again, it's so helpful, no, in organizing so many files, no, into your workspaces. Okay. Now, once you've added files, teacher, it should look like that. Okay. So ganyan po itsura ng mga workspaces, no. Okay. I think the only good thing here is that compared to folders you need to open, no, to see the files first. Okay. At least dito, pag sa Google sa priorities, you have a preview, no, yung mga files na laman ng inyong workspace. Okay. Okay, so that's how we organize, no, using the priority filing in Google Drive. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much po sa ating mga sumasagot ng mga tanungan natin. No? Isa namimis ko. Okay, I'll create a virtual Google Drive. Mahina po audio. Mahina po ba audio? Let me know. Okay, pag po mahina pa din, no, let me know, teachers, no, so I could, hindi naman daw po. Okay. Sir Mix, baka lang signal, okay? Wait nyo lang po mag-stabilize. Okay. Yan. Okay, kasi po, ano po yun eh, volume 10 na po ng boses ko. Hindi na, teachers. Okay, so moving on, teachers. Time check na 8:29. Give me 10 minutes, teachers, just to get over with this. And the teachers, I don't need to show you, no. So working with Office files and other Google Google files, no. Kasi this is a recent update, no, that Microsoft and Google collaborated on making working with your files, your Office files and Google files more seamless. Okay. So ibig sabihin, the moment you drag, for example, a Google document, a non-Google document like Microsoft Office files, it will convert it to Google files. Okay. Although for Microsoft documents, no, it should have that X extension. So PPTX, DocX, XLX extension to be able for Google to actually convert it. Okay. I know I'm not really familiar with Microsoft now so much anymore. Pero I know pwede mo siya ma-convert din naman sa loob ng Google, ng Microsoft. Okay. So you can actually do that. Okay. So for example, if you open a Microsoft Excel, it will open to Google Sheets. No. It will if you open a Microsoft PowerPoint, for example, ito kanina, yung ginamit ko sa introduction natin is actually a Microsoft, but it opens to Google Slides. Okay? Even, for example, no, PDF, okay, actually will also be converted, could be converted by Google. No? So let's go and check that out. Okay? So for example, if I open a PDF, let's look for a PDF right here. Okay, this one, okay, may sample grades. Okay. Okay, so teachers, for example, to, okay, this is a PDF, okay, and normally you can't edit PDF, okay, diba? So when you upload that to, open that in Google Drive, okay, okay, on top of your of that document, doon sa taas po, teachers, nakita niyo po. You can actually, or you will have an option when you open a PDF, you have an option to open it in Google Docs. Okay? So when you do that, the document becomes editable. Okay? So pwede nyo po yung i-edit, i-share, etc. Okay? So yun po, di ba, yung biggest problem natin before na yung mga PDF hindi natin ma-edit or hindi natin ma-convert, no? You still have to type it again para lang ma-edit mo or maging editable yung document. So sa Google Drive po, hindi na po siya ngayon. Although be very careful, teachers, no, kasi it also, the accuracy of conversion for PDF to Google Docs also depends on sa inyo pong tinatawag na yung laman, yung content ng inyong PDF. pag sobrang dami pong illustrations niyan, tables, etc., mahirapan po din si Google i-convert lahat yan. Okay, so magkakaroon ng discrepancies sa conversion. So beware of that. Pero kung text lang, for example, ito, it's now easily editable. Nagkakaroon din ng problema sometimes sa conversion kapag scanned document. Okay? So hindi nakukuha lahat ni Google Drive no lahat ng elements ng document. Okay? At sometimes masabog din siya. So beware na lang po siguro doon. Okay? Ay, hindi ko pala napakita. Yan, teachers, so. Hindi ko pala napakita yung converted. Ito yung converted. Okay. Na file. Okay? Okay, so that's how easy to work with Office files and other non-Google files. No? Okay? For the rest po teachers na hindi kaya i-convert ni Google, store lang po niya and then you can share it and you can download it. Okay? So next one teachers is uploading files. Okay? So maganda kay Google teachers, it's a drag and drop it has a drag and drop mechanism. Okay? Pero syempre teachers, no, maging careful po tayo sa drag and drop mechanism ni Google. No? Wag lang po tayong drag and drop ng mga files. No? Kasi sabi ko nga sa inyo, kapag ginawa po natin yun, sasabog po yung mga files sa loob ng Google Drive. So make sure lang po, for example, if you're uploading files, okay, to drag it, for example, to a folder, okay, directly to a folder or open the folder and then upload it there para po naka-organize na siya. Okay? Kasi po pag drinag lang natin siya, mapupunta lang siya dun sa My Drive natin. Ang hirap po niyang i-organize later on. Okay? So dun sa left side, meron kang option for file upload. Okay? Right-click on any space. You also have upload files. No? Google Drive allows simultaneous uploading. So when you upload multiple files, it will upload those files at simultaneously. But of course, it depends as well on your connectivity and signal as well. Okay. Sir Aaron, thank you so much for that help. No? Download ko nga po yan mamaya. Okay, so next natin is converting files. Okay na teachers, na yun na yung kanina. Converting files into Google, non-Google documents. Okay? Also, Google Documents pala. Ito teachers isa mga kailangan nating na ma-set up no for our Google Drive. Yung tinatawag nating offline access to drive files, okay? So when we want to do this teachers, no, we have to do some settings and plus add an extension. I will be putting in an extension or sending you an extension that you need to download first before you activate no your offline mode, okay? So let users look for that. Now, teachers, be careful lang, no, na dapat alam natin yung nangyayari kapag turn on natin yung ating offline mode. Two things. Number one, if you can turn on your documents offline. It does not mean that it will also be the same with your students. Okay? So kailangan po per Chrome yung kanyang pag-activate ng offline mode ng ating Google Drive. Okay? Kasi mag-a-add tayo ng extension dun sa Chrome natin. Okay? So if you'd like, for example, your students to also access your documents or their documents offline, you have to teach them how to do this. Okay? How to access files offline. Okay? Plus, maging careful din po tayo teachers kasi pag po ginagawa po natin offline ng ating mga documents, it only means that dina-download ni Google yung files na yun sa ating device, no? Para ma-access natin siya online. Although hindi naman po ganun kabigat, no? Pero it will also eat up some space. So, I don't recommend that you make all your files in Google Drive available offline because it defeats the purpose of having it cloud-based in the first place. No? So, siguro po ang piliin lang po natin, for example, ano yung mga documents na kailangan lagi kang may access regardless of signal. So, yan po yung mga offline mode natin. Okay? So, teachers, ito yung tinatawag natin na extension. Okay? So, kailangan nyo po itong i-download, okay? At i-add sa inyong Chrome. Okay? Ito po yung tinatawag na Google Docs Offline. Okay? I'll be sending the link now, okay, to our chat. Para po we can download it. Okay? You can copy that in your device or store it somewhere and you can access it later. You can access it now if you want para mag-open na po sa new tab yan. Okay, just add it, teachers. So right now, for example, naka-add na siya ngayon sa ano ko. No? It will now allow me to turn on my call this my offline mode for my documents. Okay? So once you've already downloaded, teachers, no, naka-add na po sa Chrome nyo yan. Okay? And please make sure, teachers, no, dahil ang adding of extension is per Chrome, ano. So kung saan nyo po siyang Google account Chrome, dinownload, doon nyo lang po ma-access tong extension na to. Okay, so balik po tayo ngayon sa ating My Drive, teachers. Okay, okay, so ngayon, teachers, how do we do that now? Once we have downloaded and added that Chrome extension, okay, we go to the settings, it's sa upper right corner, okay, and then put tayo settings. Okay, when you open the, teachers, meron kayong option ngayon doon, yung offline, tapos may tick box lang siya doon. I-tick lang po natin yung box na yun. And then, it will now prompt you to install the extension. Okay. Okay. Teachers, hindi ko na siya ma-add ngayon, no? Kasi naka-disable sa account ko. Okay? Kasi naka-GSFP account ako. Okay? Pero, once that's done, teachers, okay, pakita ko ng ibang saan ba ako merong ano? I think sa kaagapay account. Okay. Para well, teachers, mag-open ako ng ibang Google Drive. Once you have done the, teachers, and once you have ticked that box, okay, dapat magkakaroon na po kayo ngayon ng option. When you right-click a document or a folder, you now have that option called Available Offline. Okay? So, let's share this. Okay, let me just stop. Okay. Just lipat ako ng ibang Google Drive, ha? Okay. Okay. Google Drive. Ilang teachers. Kaya makalipat na account ko. Hindi lang 4 teachers, no? Okay. Yan. So teachers, kapag naka-turn on na yung inyong Google Drive, ay yung inyong offline mode, okay? Pag nag-right-click po kayo ng files, ay, wala pa rin pala dito. Hindi lang, teachers. Hindi rin pala dito. Hindi pa naka-add dito sa extension ko dito. Just look for... Baka finally dito sa Google Drive ko na to. Hindi ko siya ina-add sa lahat, teachers, eh. Kasi hindi ko pa siya kailangan. Hindi na ako nag-offline mode. But I think it's very important, no, lalo na po sa in terms of connectivity, in terms of like yung mga students natin that has very poor internet connection. Malaking tulong po na meron silang offline mode capacity for their files. Okay. Hopefully, I'll be able to show it here sa inyo. Okay. Teachers, if you have questions, no, do let me know sa ating live chat. Okay? Okay, hopefully, finally, na-download ka dito ang offline mode. Okay. Ayan, teachers. Naglalag lang po tayo, no? Nako, wala din pala. Hindi ko pa rin pala na-add dito, teachers. But anyway, it should appear here, teachers. Dapat may lalabas na button dito. Pag ni-right-click yung files, meron dyan nakalagay, Available Offline. So you can simply toggle the button. And once you've toggled the button, no, madali na siya. It should now be available offline. Okay? Search appeal. And sa ating mga documents teachers, no, sa mga Google Docs natin, Google Slides natin, Google Sheets natin, may lalabas na rin po dapat sa ating ano, no, sa ating files, no. So yun. Yan, thank you Sir BJ, no. Try yan Sir BJ, available na po ang available offline. Okay? Good job Sir BJ. Okay? So you can try that out, teachers. Okay. Next natin. So I hope that helps the teachers setting offline access. No? Now sharing the teachers. No. Last aspect na tayo. Okay. Last two. Okay. Sharing of files. Okay. So there are multitudes of sharing files. No? There are two ways, no, to share files in Google Drive. Okay. So when we want to share, no, so we just go to the file. Okay. We can right click on the file, okay? And you can, or actually you can open it, okay? At meron ding share button doon. But this is the easy way, for example, this is the easiest way, no, for me, okay? So you can simply right click on a file or a folder, no, whatever file you'd like to share, okay? And you have two ways to share it, okay? So either get a link, so you just generate a link for sharing, okay? Or share to specific people. Let's first look at the share to specific people. Okay, so click on share. Okay, and when you click share, teachers, no, lalabas dun yung window where you can set, no, and we can add people to whom you'd like to share the files, no. Now kanina may nagtanong, anong difference? May difference ba kapag specific people? Okay, or may difference ba kapag get a link? Okay, so dapat teachers clear tayo sa intentions natin. Okay. Kapag po you're sharing to specific people, ibig sabihin, you'd like the document to be as private as possible and only share to specific people. Okay? That's the way to limit, no, access to the document. That you're sure na kung sino lang po yung nilagay yung groups doon or tao, sila po yung makaka-access sa files nyo. Teachers, yung groups, yun po yung tinatawag natin Google Groups. Pag-uusapan din po natin yung next time, yung paggawa ng mga Google Groups. Okay? So now, for example, let's add my other, example, let's add kaagapaytc@gmail.com here, okay? So aside from being able to share, teachers, no, also be mindful of the sharing permission, okay? So dun sa right side ng ng field for emails, meron kayong tinatawag na sharing permissions. Anong gusto nyong gawin or magawa ng inyong mga guests, okay? So, viewer ba siya? Pag viewer, teachers, pwede lang niyang i-view at ma-download ang mga files. Okay? Comment, for example, kung mga Google Documents yan, Google Slides, pwede ba siya mag-comment? At the same time, view and download. Okay? Or editor, pwede gusto niyo ba siyang mag-organize, add, and edit files? Okay? So, pwede ba siya mag-arrange? Pwede ba siya mag-contribute ng files, for example, or edit the files? Okay? You'll have to make him an editor as well. Okay? So that kind of permissions needs to be determined when you're sharing. Okay? Okay. But what if teachers gusto ko via link para I don't need to type emails. I just send it to my students, okay? Or to the people that like for their access. Kaya lang be careful, teachers, no? Okay? Kasi kapag nag-share tayo via a link, okay? A link could be shared. Okay? So pag share niyo po yan sa student niyo, pwede i-share ni student to anyone na. At lahat ng makaka-access o makakakuha ng link nila, meron na rin po silang access dun sa link na yon or sa files na yon. Okay? Although, may extra protection ang mga gumagamit ng mga G Suite account. Okay? Bakit po? Okay? Kasi, tanggalin natin yan. Okay? So, sa baba tayo, teachers, dun tayo sa get a link. Okay? Change tayo dun sa change a link. No? Click lang natin para maka-generate tayo ng link. So, ayan na, teachers, meron na akong link for my files, okay? But, teachers, you can also choose, no, how to share this, okay? For example, I want a link, pero I also don't want everyone to have access to it, okay? Sa mga gumagamit po ng G Suite account, meron kayong extra level, no? Aside from restricted means you're the only one who have access and the ones you have invited. Okay? So, yan po yan, no? Okay? Restricted to you and the ones you have invited. Okay? Doon sa baba ng teachers, if you're using personal email, hindi niyo po ito makikita. Wala kayong makikita sa baba ng restricted, sa gitna ng restricted, tsaka anyone with the link. Sa mga gumagamit po ng mga G Suite accounts, like DepEd accounts, dapat po makita niyo dyan, for example, DepEd, or mga DepEd QC, DepEd Makati, etc. Okay? Ibig sabihin lang yung teachers, kahit po link yung sinishare nyo, not anyone can access it except those that are within your same domain. Okay, ang cute ng kanyang profile picture. Na-distract ako doon sa profile picture ng classmate natin. So ganun teachers, no? So meron kayong additional security doon, okay? When you're sharing a link, okay? Pero kung you're using personal Gmail teachers, ano lang yan? Restricted lang at saka anyone with the link lang yan. Now, anyone with the link is if your intention is to make it public, okay? Kapag gusto niyo po maging public yung document niyo, anyone with the link po yan, okay? Para anyone na mag-click ng link niyo, regardless kung meron silang account or wala, makaka-access po sila sa inyong files, okay? So usually yun yung mga open resource items, no, na ginagawa po, okay? Pero again, kung hindi niyo po intention niya, huwag niyo pong i-share to anyone with the link, okay? Para po maprotektahan yung integrity ng files, okay? And just like that, teachers, even when sharing a link, you can also determine the role, no, or permission settings of those that have that are going to access your link, either viewer, commenter, or editor. Okay? Ngayon, teachers, ito yung mga nagiging biggest problem sometimes ng mga ibang teachers, no. Meron akong document, I don't want them to edit it, pero gusto kong gumawa sila ng sarili nilang files for editing. Okay? So ang gagawin ng teachers, no, you can set it to viewers mode, okay? Para hindi po nila ma-edit yung inyong template or inyong primary document. Tapos ang instruction nyo, teachers, is for them to make a copy of it, okay? The moment they make a copy of a shared document, okay, that becomes their own, yung copy nun, okay? So they can now edit it, okay? For those using Google Classroom, when you're assigning a document, okay, for example, in assignment or in a quiz assignment, you can choose, no, to make a copy for each student, okay, para po they can edit their own documents, okay? So you can think things like that, okay? Okay, some questions, okay? Okay, thank you so much, no? Yan. Hindi ko na naman kailangang i-mind yung ating ano. Thank you, Sir Aaron, again for addressing the concerns in our live chat. Okay? Saves me so much time. So teachers, no, that's how we share files, no? So sobrang dali. And again, the moment you drag and drop your files, no, sa loob ng ating Google Drive, okay, it automatically are assigned with a link. Okay, so magkakaroon kayo ng link for you to be able to share that. Okay. Okay, next natin is last one. I think so last to. Okay na to. Sharing na Google Files. Okay. We already did that. Okay. We also did this, sharing files as a link. So again, you can share it to specific people if it's you meant it to be private. If you want to make it really like public for a larger audience, you can share it using a link. Okay. Okay, we also did this kanina, creating and managing folders already. Okay, nagawa natin. Ito na yung last one, teachers, no, creating a resource folder. Wala naman itong demo, teachers, no. Basically, si resource folder, okay, may encounter nyo po yan sa test, baka ma-encounter nyo sa GCE exam nyo. Basically, it's a term used by Google when you're creating a folder that you constantly develop over time. Okay? So, yung nag-add ka po ng file over time. Okay? Kasi, di ba, for example, school year, okay, first quarter or first term or first semester, madami kang files na i-share. Just imagine, for example, if you're sharing 20 files over the course of the semester, that's 20 links, okay, or 20 sharing. So, ang suggestion ni Google Drive, if your intention, no, magkakaroon ka ng klase ng sharing, sa start pa lang ng semester, start pa lang ng quarter, gumawa ka na ng resource folder. Ang resource folder, basically, teachers, hindi naman yung special, no? It's a regular folder in Google Drive. Kaya tawag lang yung resource folder kasi nga, naglalagay ka ng resources doon. So, ang mangyayari ng teachers, no? If you create a folder, okay? You just share the folder to your students, okay? At the beginning of the quarter or the semester, okay? And just instruct them, okay, if you have new downloads or, uploads in that folder. So, you only shared one link and that's the folder, okay? And by default, teachers, no, lahat ng files na i-upload mo dun sa folder na yon will also have the same sharing permission settings ng folder unless you specify it inside the folder. Okay? Okay. So, mangyayari, teachers, hindi na nakaka-confuse yung pag-share ng files, no? So, I highly recommend this for your classes, no? Para, for example, ang gagawin mo na lang, mag-a-announce ka na lang sa Messenger or Google Classroom, students, please visit our resource folder. I have a new upload. Ganun lang. Okay? You need to share for new links, etc. Okay? So makes sharing of files much more efficient and not confusing. No? Let's imagine sobrang daming links na kailangan mong i-share sa mga students. Okay? But this one, only one. Okay? Now, teachers, that ends, no, our sorry, nag-extend na naman tayo. Okay? Tama ba? Okay. Okay, for today. But I hope I was able to cover everything. So, teachers, I think we still have some time na for questions. Okay? But before we do that, no, stop presenting first. Okay? Although I will not be able to capture everything, but I'd like to capture because this is perhaps the biggest call yet, no, that I had so far. 97 of you. We've had 101 kanina. Kaya lang feeling ko nagutom na po yung iba kanina. No? Kaya kailangan na lang mag-dinner. Can we all please turn on no, our videos so I could take a snapshot while you're thinking of your questions. And some, ano, our first class picture. Okay? For our session. If you can, teachers, no, kung may problem po sa signal, okay lang naman po. No worries. Okay? Again, I'm only allowed 49 tiles so far. So, yun lang po yung maka-capture ko so far right now. Okay? Yan. Lagi ako naiingit sa mga ibang teachers natin po, no? Na patapos ng taon, pero fresh na fresh pa rin. Mantala ako po, mukhang nagulpi na ako sa dami ng trabaho natin, teachers. Anyway, so teachers, smile. I'll be capturing our session now. In 1, 2, 3. Look at the camera, teachers. Okay, one more, teachers. Okay, smile. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, last one, teachers. Hintayin ko pong bumaba yung name, no? Hintayin niyo lang po ako, teachers. Kasi para lang po maiwasan natin ng data, privacy, issues. No? Hintayin ko lang po bumaba yung mga names natin. Tatago po ni Google yan. Waiting. Yun. Okay, ready, teachers? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Teachers, I think we can call it a night and I'll see you again tomorrow. I'll be sending you the coverage for tomorrow at yung mga kailangan po natin ma-cover. For those who nagkaroon ng problems sa connections during this session, you'll be able to view it in an hour or two. I'll upload it in our Google Drive resource folder for our class. Okay? So have a good night, teachers. And again, maraming salamat for attending. And for those who have been contributing to our class discussion as well via our live chat. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow and have a good night, teachers. Bye-bye.
Bye po.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you po, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you po. Lakbalo din akong tsura. Wala. Okay, done.
Thanks, sir.
Salamat. Welcome po, welcome. Good night, teachers. Rest po kayo, pahinga po tayo.
Night po.
Good night, teacher.